companies who make their products in America and has also threatened to impose tariffs if companies don't manufacture in America. He also hit out at European Union and Canada for being unfair and was scathing in his criticism about European Union's treatment of Apple and American airlines. He has promised a golden age for America by reducing inflation, making US the capital of AI and crypto, and by demanding interest rates to drop in the United States and the rest of the world as well. He has urged Saudi Arabia and OPEC to cut oil prices. He spoke about the Russia-Ukraine war 3 times in his speech at Davos and even said that he wants to meet Putin soon. He said that the ridiculous Russia-Ukraine war needs to stop. He went to the extent of saying that the Ukraine was ready for a deal and Russia needs to agree now, further saying that millions of young people have died in the killing fields. On China, he said that he likes Xi Jinping and wants a level playing field. Trump did not mention India in his speeches so far, but here are his priorities. While trade is progressing well at over $119 billion US has a $35 billion trade deficit with India. Trump is likely to be hard on India to import more from the United States. He's likely to push more energy exports to India as well. He would want to check illegal immigration. There are about 18,000 Indians illegally staying in the United States, and America is set to seek their deportation. He could also slap high tariffs on Indian IT, pharma, textiles and auto sectors, demand greater access for US cars, dairy and agriculture products, and seek a trade deal with India. He would want a level playing field with American companies. Trump is likely to visit India in 2025 as Quad Leaders Summit will be held in the country. Discussions are also on for Modi to visit
India's most important business partner. It's a big market for India. It's a source of technology. It's a source of partnership in emerging areas such as AI, robotics, quantum computing, even green energy. That is not the Trump administration's priority, but that is the priority of many institutions in America. And of course, the defense partnership has been progressing. And it's a source of capital for investment in India, for India's capital markets, including our stock markets. So in that sense, the US relationship is very important, will always be important, irrespective of who the US president is and his or her immediate priorities. Having said that, Trump is also obviously indicating a continuation of a more sort of protectionist mindset that has engulfed America in recent times. There's been a pushback against global trade. Much of the complaint is not against India, it's against China, it's against other Asian countries, it's against Germany. But India is also there somewhere in the mix. It's in the mix for 2 reasons. One, there is a deficit with India, a small deficit, as you said, $35 billion, but a deficit nevertheless, and that has got Trump's attention. Second, in certain areas, India is seen as unduly protectionist. Certain types of agricultural products, we can't open up everything because we can't hurt our own farmers, but we can open up certain types of products. You know, in the old days, there used to be a lot of debate about Californian almonds. Then it became a debate about Washington apples. Both of those did open up to some degree. They can be more opening up. So energy, certainly we are an energy deficient country. And while we are trying to transition to green energy, there is still ample scope to buy traditional energy, both crude oil and natural gas. The US was a big supplier of crude oil and natural gas under Trump 1.0. This died out with the Biden administration. It will come back now. It's a medium-term window. It's not a long-term window because India will transition to green energy.
Right.
Nevertheless, there is scope here. Then there are other areas of energy such as nuclear. The conversation did begin with Biden. It will continue under Trump and hopefully could lead to something, especially in terms of small and modular nuclear reactors. In certain types of manufactured goods, including high technology goods, defense equipment and platforms, we are already buying from the US. We could buy more. However, there has been progress on co-production and co-development. Under Biden, India would want to see that continuing. To preserve those technology partnerships and defense relationships, if certain adjustments in tariffs have to be made, I guess the government will be willing to make them up to a certain point.
Right. What are the concessions you think he's going to seek for American companies? You know, yesterday in his speech, he said it several times that companies like Apple are being treated very unfairly in the European Union. American airlines are being treated unfairly. His direction, his indication was not towards India. But when it comes to companies like Amazon, when it comes to automotive giants in the United States, what do you think is Trump's focus going to be?
Look, if this were the 1980s or 1990s, the discussion between US and Indian trade representatives would be on market access for manufactured goods from America. But there's obviously been an evolution since then. And the bulk of what America can sell to India is actually in the intangibles, services, e-commerce. The opening up of e-commerce, the greater opening up of e-commerce will certainly be on the table. Cryptocurrency. This election has seen a lot of investment by the cryptocurrency industry in the Trump administration. Trump has taken a businessman's view of crypto. This is a tipping point, I would argue, for the mainstreaming of crypto. It's not without its concerns, but there is a certain tipping point. We need to recognize that. Companies, especially in the US, I suspect including Indian companies through the US and Western subsidiaries, are showing crypto assets on their balance sheets. This is new. It's happening. How we square that
Mr. Malik,
circle? Yeah.
the crypto point is very important, as you mentioned, because India has not imposed any blanket ban on cryptocurrencies, but the tax is at prohibitive levels. Do you think India should now reconsider its position on cryptos?
Look, I don't want to advise the government on what it should do. There are genuine concerns about crypto because crypto can lead to money laundering. Having said that, this is also a tipping point for the mainstream of crypto. How the government squares that circle is for the government to answer, not for me, but there will have to be some consideration. On data, on AI, on e-commerce, as I said, on all of these, there will be pressure to take positions that are more, it does give scope to international companies or vehicle manufacturers, including American ones, to come here to make in India, but also sell imported cars, at least initially for some years. There is a window there. I think the government would expect US companies with interest in those areas to actually take advantage of those opportunities, which are already open up.
Right. Now, speaking about EVs, Tesla, Elon Musk, India has been in conversation with Elon Musk for the last 4 to 5 years now. Recently, they've not shown any interest in the new scheme for promoting electric car manufacturing in India. But what is the kind of impact do you see Elon Musk having on Donald Trump vis-a-vis India?
Elon Musk is obviously a very influential person in the Trump setup and administration. He has business interests in several areas: e-vehicles, telecom, space, all of which could potentially see India as a big market or as a partner. It's for him to put his cards on the table, to be quite honest.
Right. I'd also like to ask you about the Russia-Ukraine war. So far, India, when it comes to the two wars that are going on in the world, the Middle East and Europe, India has maintained strategic autonomy. We have maintained our alliances and relationships and also condemned these wars and say that we have to end these wars. But do you think Donald Trump is going to put a lot of pressure in India to cut energy ties with Russia, buy more energy from the United States and reduce the defense relationship as well?
Please understand that the crude oil purchase from the Russians post the beginning of the Ukraine war was completely legitimate and legal, and it was a window allowed for India in consultation with Western countries, including the United States and the Biden administration. The oil was bought by India completely legally under the price cap. It was refined in India. Some of it was used in India. Much of it was sold to other countries, including Western countries and countries in Europe. So, and what India did at that point kept oil prices low, because it's not if the Russian oil tap was shut down, it wasn't as if oil was going to come from Mars. There was no other oil available. You know, this is the only world where oil is produced. So the fact is, as an energy importing country, as an energy dependent country, like many other countries, India had an interest, and the world had an interest in keeping oil prices manageable. And the India-Russia trade, with the complete understanding of major global powers, managed to do that. Now, if
Right.
Trump opens up sale of of US gas and oil, and I appreciate that cannot happen immediately. It will take some time for those uh, facilities to start cranking up. If those sources of energy become available and those are cheaper than Russian uh, energy, then obviously Indian companies will look at that. I mean, it's not a it's economics 101, with the Indian refiners, with the public sector or private sector, will look at the cheapest and best available source of crude oil. Space and opportunity and, in fact, need for a trade deal. I doubt it will be a full-fledged FTA. I think the era of full-fledged FTAs is behind us, at least for the foreseeable future. But some sort of a limited trade deal is in the interest of both countries. Both countries can benefit from it. Both countries can use each other's markets and opportunities. Under Trump 1.0, trade negotiations were taken up by both countries. Unfortunately, they were timed out by the end of the term Trump administration. Those 4 years passed, and negotiating the perfect trade deal or the optimal trade deal became more of a priority than negotiating or finalizing a doable trade deal. This time, I think both countries have learned their lessons and would want to do some sort of a trade deal earlier rather than later. It's also in India's interest because India does want to approach this constructively. India has built enormous technology and defense relationships, including technology sharing in strategic areas such as quantum computing, such as defense technologies, jet engine technologies. It's done all of that with the Biden administration and with the United States. It would want to preserve those technology and defense equities. To do that, if it has to compromise a little bit on certain tariff lines and quickly finalize a trade deal, it would, I imagine, want to do it. So the pressure on both sides to conclude some sort of a mini early harvest trade deal fairly early would be very high.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Malik, for joining us with that very important view on how the new Trump administration would be viewing India. And what I found very interesting is how crypto could be a tipping point for the world with the kind of stand that Trump has taken. And he openly said that US will be the AI and crypto capital of the world. So let's see how things pan out in the days to come. Thank you once again for being with us here on Global Eye. On that note, we take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We discuss the relationship between India and the US under Trump 2.0 with Vikas Swarup, former Indian ambassador to Canada, on the other side.